Hi, my name is Amy and I'm a speech therapist at Emerge Pediatric Therapy. Today we are going to talk about speech generating device access methods and portability. For today's video, I borrowed equipment from Jim, our friend over at Tobii Dynavox, so big shout out to him. Thank you for letting me use the equipment so I can demo some of the stuff that we'll be talking about. For those of you who don't know what a speech generating device is, it essentially looks like a tablet, and there is a language program in it in which the users can select keys to activate words or phrases, and the device will create a speech output. This is an example of a speech generating device. This is the Tobii Dynavox i13. For people without any motor deficits, the easiest access method is using their finger to touch the screen, and that will activate the key.
Hi.
But for those who have fine motor deficits, there are a couple things that you can do to help you. So first being using a key guard or a touch guide. They are essentially plastic overlays that lay on the top of the screen, and they should fit about the size of the buttons. A key guard will have square openings, whereas a touch guide will have rounded openings. And the idea is that it helps you to place your finger in the center of the button so you're able to get to the button that you want. You can also change some of the device settings. One thing you could do is increase the acceptance time, meaning that the user would have to hold down the key longer in order to activate it. This can be helpful for users who may accidentally tap other keys as they're trying to get to the key that they actually want. Another thing is changing the device so that the key activates upon release. So rather than you touching it and it talking immediately, you can kind of drag your fingers across if you need to. And then when you get to what you want, when you release that key, it'll talk. Next, we'll be talking about switch access. This is a pretty typical switch. It's essentially a button that you push to activate. These ones are from Warfighter Engage. They're a company that makes switches for veterans, not just for speech generating devices, but it can be used with other things as well. I'll be showing you how to activate a device using both a single switch and two switches. Here's an example of what it may look like if someone is using single switch scanning. In this example, the device has highlighting words in a row. So when I see that the device gets to the row I want to use, I'll activate the switch. And then it'll start to highlight words across the row. And when it gets to what I want, again, I'll just activate the switch again to select it.
Wow, cool.
This is just one example of how a device may scan. You can also change the device settings so it'll scan it word by word. Of course, that is a slower method of scanning, but that is an option available. This is an example of two switch scanning. One switch will be used to scan across, and then the other one will be used to select.
Hi.
There are a couple of other options for switch access. The first being a proximity switch. It would look similar to these switches, but rather than pressing down on them to activate them, the user would just have to move by it for it to activate. You can also use a joystick. It will be similar in that on the screen you'll see that the keys are highlighted. As you toggle your joystick, the highlighted key will move, and then you would push the button on the top of the joystick to activate that key. Now we're going to talk about eye gaze and head pointing. I'm going to first start off with eye gaze. What this bar at the bottom does is it tracks your eye movements. And when I start the program, you're going to see that there is a red dot that shows up, and that is essentially just following the movement of my eyes. So as my eyes move around the screen and I'm looking at different keys, the button moves with me. And when I hold my gaze, you'll see that button shrink, and that when I hold it for a second, it'll select the key. You can change that time for how long you have to hold your gaze on a button, but that's the the way I have it set up for this demo. So let me show you.
Hi.
Head pointing works similarly to what you just saw with the eye gaze, but instead of the device tracking eye movements, it's going to be tracking the movements of a small silver circle dot that the user would place either on their forehead or it can be placed on their glasses. It would look the same on the screen though, where you would see that red dot moving around the keys as the head is moving, and then once the head is held still, it'll, after a certain amount of time, select that key. Last, we're going to be talking about portability for these devices. Most devices come equipped with some kind of carrying handle or strap, as well as a carrying case, and usually some kind of kickstand or a method for the device to stand upright on a table or a flat surface. Additionally, your speech therapist can help you purchase mounts or stands. There are table stands and floor stands. They are essentially a system of poles that are adjustable, so you can adjust both the height of the device and also the angle that the device is placed. Some of the floor stands also have wheels on the bottom for easier mobility. There are also wheelchair mounts available, so that way the device and maybe the switches can also be attached to the person's wheelchair for easier portability. Today, I use the Tobii Dynavox i13 to show you some examples, but there are many different kinds of speech generating devices out there that may work better for different people. Most of them should be able to work with things like the switches that we saw, eye gaze, head pointing, and you should be able to also get mounts and stands for them. Also, I should mention that the device settings that you saw me use are just a small amount of what these devices can do. There are a whole lot of other options available to change settings for people who have motor impairments or maybe even cortical visual impairments as well. If you have any questions about anything that we discussed today, please give us a call at Emerge, and I'd be happy to talk to you about speech generating devices and the options available for you.